Hello friends, and in this video we're going to compare the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro on the left with Apple's own iPhone 12 on the right. Budget on the left, premium on the right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the specs and the differences. So the first thing we're going to dive into is the price. Big old difference. The Redmi Note 10 Pro is a measly $260. Chump change compared to the iPhone 12. That phone comes in at around $800 plus your tax. So you're closer to the $1,000, and the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro is closer to $200. So it's obvious which one is going to be picked up if you're at either you're in the $200 range or if you're near the $1,000 range. So the Redmi phone, that one weighs in at 193 grams, translates to 6.81 ounces. It's a little bit heavier than the iPhone 12. That one weighs in at 164 grams and weighs 5.7 ounces. Very light phone. All right, for the screen, the Redmi Note 10 Pro has an AMOLED display, 120 Hertz, 450 nits of average typical brightness, and 1200 nits of peak brightness. Compare that to the Super Retina XDR OLED display on the iPhone 12. It has 625 nits of average typical brightness and a peak brightness of 1200 nits. The screen size on the Redmi Note 10 Pro is 6.7 inches, which has 85% screen to body ratio compared to the smaller 6.1 inch screen on the iPhone 12. And that comes in at 86% screen to body ratio. So you're getting more screen on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Resolution on these phones for the screen, the Redmi Note 10 Pro has a full HD screen. It's 1080 by 2400 pixels. That's 395 ppi density. On the iPhone 12, we have 1170 by 2532 pixel resolution, and the PPI on it is 460. So you're getting a little bit better screen on the iPhone. Let's talk about SIM cards. The Redmi Note 10 Pro is a dual SIM card phone. That way you could put two physical SIM cards in the device and have multiple phone numbers and multiple data plans on there. Great for traveling or if you just want two services. You do get dual SIM card functionality on the iPhone 12, but one of them is a physical SIM card, the other one is an eSIM. So depending on the type of person you are, one might be more better for you in terms of functionality. For dust and water protection, the Redmi Note 10 Pro has an IP rating of 53, and the iPhone 12 has an IP68 dust and water resistance. So you could dunk it in and submerge it in water for 6 meters and up to 30 minutes. So you're definitely getting more protection on the iPhone if you were to drop it into the pool or in the toilet or in the ocean, wherever you're at. The Redmi Note 10 Pro is just a little splish and a splasher in the rain, or a quick, you spill a drink on it or something. That's all it could take. Now let's talk about software. Very important. It's what you interact with all day. Redmi Note 10 Pro is rocking Android 11 with the MIUI 12 skin on top. The iPhone 12 has the classic iOS 14 on this one, and it's going to be upgraded for at least 5 years. Can't say the same thing about the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Who knows how many updates it will get, if any. But if you like functionality, you got Android 11 on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. If you like updates and efficiency, roll with the iOS on the iPhone 12. So powering the devices, the processor on the Redmi Note 10 Pro has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 732G. On iOS and the iPhone 12, it is being powered by Apple's own A14 Bionic. All I can say is that the iOS chip made by Apple is very, very efficient and is the fastest one to date. the Qualcomm Snapdragon on the Redmi phone, it is up there. It's not the top processor or top chip, but this phone will definitely get the job done. Let's talk about storage. Super important feature in a smartphone. The Redmi Note 10 Pro has internally 64 gigs of storage, while the iPhone 12 also has 64 gigs of storage. So we have a tie here. The big difference being is that the Redmi phone has a micro SD card slot, so you could instantly add tons of storage to this device for your pictures and your movies and your downloads and your music and your apps. Can't say the same thing about the iPhone. Once you buy the 64 gigabyte version, that's it. You can't upgrade anymore. You'll have to step up and get the 128 or 256 gigabyte model, but that's more expensive. So there's an advantage here on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. In the camera department, we have some impressive shooters here. The Redmi Note 10 Pro has a main, huge 108 megapixel main camera. It has also a 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro, and 2 megapixel depth. Very impressive. The iPhone 12 is no slouch because it is still considered one of the best cameras out there. It has a double camera, a 12 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. Both of these should give you nice and crispy videos and pictures. But let's see, the 108 is pretty impressive megapixels. So let's see what you could do with that and uploading to social media and sending pictures to your friends. For the camera on the Redmi, it does shoot up to 4K. Also, the iPhone shoots up to 4K. So kind of a tie right there in the video department. Let's move on to the selfie camera in the front. The Redmi Note 10 Pro has a 16 megapixel shooter capable of 1080p video. The iPhone 12 keeps a 12 megapixel shooter in the front and also shoots 4K just like the back camera. So we have an advantage here on the iPhone, but you shouldn't be too disappointed with 1080p. That's still pretty good on the Redmi. A little bonus on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, you have a headphone jack. Unlike the iPhone, which sadly does not have a headphone jack, if you haven't moved on to wireless earbuds, then the Redmi Note has you covered because you could still put in your physical headphones, you could put in your mic, or connect it to your car via an aux cord. So for charging, the Redmi Note 10 Pro has a USB Type-C port, while the iPhone keeps it classic with the Lightning port. So depending on what other devices you have, if you have a lot of other Apple iOS devices, Lightning's the way to go. But if you have a lot of USB Type-C devices, which include MacBooks and Chromebooks and Windows PCs and other phones, then roll with the USB-C port on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. These phones have very different ways of unlocking the device. The Redmi Note 10 Pro has a side-mounted fingerprint reader, while the iPhone relies solely on Face ID. There's no physical touch on that one, so there's different ways of opening and unlocking these devices. So now let's talk about something super important to everybody, is battery life. The Redmi Note 10 Pro does not disappoint. It has a massive 5020 milliamp battery. The iPhone has a 2815 milliamp battery. So it's safe to say that the Redmi Note has a beat in this department that will definitely last you all day. It's kind of questionable on the iPhone 12. I doubt it'll get most people through the day. If you do need to charge up these devices, they both offer fast charging. You get 33 watt fast charging on the Note 10 Pro. And you get around 60% charge in 30 minutes. iPhone gets around 50% charge in 30 minutes using the 20 watt charger. You also get Qi magnetic charging, which they call MagSafe. So we went over the specs and compared these two phones. One is Android, one is iPhone. But the takeaways I get from this are that the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro packs a lot of value into $260, most notably a big old battery, has that 108 megapixel main camera, and it also is a dual SIM device, fully unlocked. The Apple iPhone 12 has a super great camera. It's a super premium feeling device, best in class at taking videos as well. But there's some departments where it could be better. There's no expandable storage, there's no headphone jack, and the battery is kind of questionable. So to end this video, if you got a budget of under 300 bucks, get the Xiaomi. If you don't mind spending more than that, get the iPhone 12. Thanks for watching my video. See you in the next one.